Breaking news from the NFL, where Aaron Rodgers is returning to the Steelers next season. Our NFL insider Jonathan Jones reports Rodgers is signing a one-year deal with Pittsburgh. The deal is worth $22 million guaranteed and $25 million with incentives per NFL Network. It will mark Rodgers' second season in the Steel City and his first under new head coach Mike McCarthy. The two won a Super Bowl together in Green Bay. Last season, Rodgers led the Steelers to the AFC North title, but they were beaten in the wild card round at home by the Texans. Rodgers will turn 43 in December. Here is our Bryant McFadden just 2 days ago with his prediction on where Rodgers would end up.
B-Mac, what's taking so long? Wouldn't you want to come back, try to run it back with the coach you won a Super Bowl with in Green Bay?
I think he will come back. The thing about Aaron Rodgers, he had fun a year ago. Even though it didn't finish how he wanted it to finish, he really enjoyed himself. And you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, Emery, you talked about that. They have improved the offense. The offensive line, I think, will be a much improved unit. And not to mention the wide receivers. Forget the tight ends. They have the tight ends there. The wide receiver has been a position in totality that has been alarming for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bringing in Michael Pittman, I think is a big addition. You look at getting Bernard in the draft. He is a football player that happens to play the wide receiver position, and along with DK Metcalf. I think those are intriguing pieces for Aaron Rodgers to make his decision in 2 days from now that he will be returning.
Spot on, even to the day of his announcement. Bryant McFadden, two-time Super Bowl champion, joins us now. B-Mac, it's year 22 in the league for Aaron Rodgers, and he'll spend it reuniting with his former head coach from Green Bay, Mike McCarthy, who now leads the Steelers. What is your initial reaction to Rodgers returning back to Pittsburgh?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. It was a matter of time when you look at how Pittsburgh handled their offseason moves, right? Via free agency, when you look at the draft. And with Aaron Rodgers, in his Hall of Fame career, if you're going to walk away from the National Football League, you're going to make it known. You're not going to straddle the fence. You're going to make it known so you can get your proper just due. And I understand Aaron Rodgers isn't one to just, receive or anticipate accolades being thrown his way. He's always been one to kind of do things in the dark a little bit. But in this situation, you're not walking away from the game and just doing it blindly. No. So I felt like Aaron Rodgers would make his return, and this is the proper time to do so if you're Aaron Rodgers, because they will start OTAs Monday, right? So now hearing the news today that he has signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers, it makes all the sense in the world because he won't miss anything team related when you look at OTAs, when you look at mini camps and things like that. He's going to be in the building. He will get an opportunity to be in the huddle with this new offense, along with his new head coach, former head coach, and Mike McCarthy.
B-Mac, you mentioned it a little bit in your prediction. All of the pieces surrounding Rodgers, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, was that all the reason why he came back to Pittsburgh?
I think it played a part in him coming back. I think the most significant thing that made Aaron Rodgers want to keep playing for this particular season was the fun he had last season. When you look at his numbers, 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, completed 65% of his passes while throwing for over 3,300 yards. He actually had a better year last year than he did his final season in Green Bay when he was years younger. So when you look at the joy that we saw with Aaron Rodgers, when you look at the success that we saw with Aaron Rodgers, and oh, by the way, with this offense being much better, especially on paper, than what he was a part of a year ago, I think that played a major factor in him returning. Also, getting the old thing back, right? Mike McCarthy, a coach he won a Super Bowl with. And I don't like to talk about that Super Bowl because they beat us in that Super Bowl game. But that also has to play a major factor with him making his decision known today to return to the Pittsburgh Steelers, to try to run it back once again and go above and beyond what they did last year. They won the AFC title, but of course it was the issues in the playoff game. I believe Aaron Rodgers knows this team, as it is assembled today, could have an opportunity to be better than what they were last year and also have better success in postseason play.
There is no question no one knows Aaron Rodgers better than his former head coach in Mike McCarthy. Now, Rodgers will turn 43 years old later this year. B-Mac, you're close in age to him. I don't know how you'd feel suiting up for this upcoming NFL season. So what are your expectations for Rodgers in 2026?
Well, when you look at his numbers, I mean, 24 touchdowns, I see him going past that number. I think he will be more prolific in throwing the football, especially in the red zone. When you look at his completion percentage, the above the shoulder game is still there. So he's still very, very precise with his decision-making ability. I think he's going to have a successful year. And outside of the individual expectations for Aaron Rodgers, I believe this team once again will be a playoff caliber team. And I know people will say, B-Mac, you're tripping. Well, y'all said that last year. They told me I was tripping last year. And guess what happened? The Pittsburgh Steelers won the division. And you can say, well, look at the injury to Lamar Jackson. Look at the injury to Joe Burrow. Well, in the words of Justin Timberlake, cry me a river. That happens in the game of football. It's your job to deliver the baby. No one cares about the labor pains. You still got to deliver the baby. And guess who delivered the baby a year ago in the AFC North? It was the Pittsburgh Steelers. I expect the same thing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, finding ways to win significant ball games to be able to get into that playoff hunt.
I do not think you are tripping, B-Mac, but fantastic Justin Timberlake throw in there. I love it. Big thanks to B-Mac for joining us here on CBS Sports HQ to break down all the breaking news. Tom Brady, 66 games, starts rather, by the age of 42 or older. Aaron Rodgers, 5 starts. So he's got a lot of catching up to do, but he joins some pretty cool company in the old man group. But plenty of more breaking news on Aaron Rodgers coming up next on CBS Sports HQ.
The hard-working men and women of the PGA of America know the power of
Breaking news from the NFL, where Aaron Rodgers is returning to the Steelers next season. Our NFL insider Jonathan Jones reports Rodgers is signing a 1-year deal with Pittsburgh. The deal is worth $22 million guaranteed and $25 million with incentives per NFL Network. It will mark Rodgers' second season in the Steel City and his first under new head coach Mike McCarthy. The two won a Super Bowl together in Green Bay. Last season, Rodgers led the Steelers to the AFC North title, but they were beaten in the wild card round at home by the Texans. Rodgers will turn 43 in December. Now joining me is NFL analyst Emery Hunt. Rodgers in year 22 in the league. He is going back to Pittsburgh and he's reuniting with Mike McCarthy. Emery, what is your initial reaction to this news?
Wow. Like, shout out to B-Mac who called that 2 days ago. We just didn't catch on. We thought he was just tripping like he normally is, but he called it. But I think this is great for the Steelers because that's the biggest question we had about the Pittsburgh offense coming into this season. Who's going to play quarterback? And we kind of sell ourselves on Mason Rudolph or, Will Howard and his competitiveness, and also the rookie Drew Aller if he's able to get his technique down to where it needs to be, that this offense could be what you want it to be moving forward. But now that Rodgers is coming back, it makes everything make sense now, offensively speaking, because they got better in free agency, they got better in the draft. And Rodgers at his age is like the rest of us, is watching from afar. It's like, okay, that's a good pick. That's a great pick. Okay, I can work with that. And then he said, you know what? Let me make this thing happen for sure and come back and sign with you guys and run it back once again.
Offense in Pittsburgh, certainly something to look forward to for Rodgers. Now, last year, Rodgers didn't announce he was heading to the Steelers until minicamp, which occurs in June. So he made this decision a little earlier this year. What do you make of Rodgers' timeline to get the business side out of the way sooner, Emery?
Because even though he's worked with and won a Super Bowl with Mike McCarthy, it's still a new coach. It's still a new system in this regard. So he wanted to get in early and get the process going right away. And when you look at some of the things that they didn't have last year, which kind of cost them in that game against the Houston Texans, this was a team that struggled to run the football consistently. You don't have Kenneth Gainwell, but guess what? You bring in Rico Dowdle, who was phenomenal with the Carolina Panthers last season. He's going to probably end up being the starter. And you draft Eli Heidenreich out of Navy, a do-it-all Swiss Army knife type back that you can put all across the formation. You bring in Jeremy Bernard, the rookie, Mr. Third Down, Mr. Sticks, as they called him in Alabama. And you also draft Caden Weigett, who's a guy that's going to be your A1 punt returner that creates those short fields for Aaron Rodgers. On top of the fact, we saw the offensive line get banged up a little bit toward the back end of the season, where Dylan Cook, who fielded admirably at tackle, now you draft Max Iheanacho, one of the top tier tackles in the draft out of Arizona State. So Rodgers is saying, okay, there's some young talent that we like. This is a new system. It's best for me and best for the team long term to get in right away and get this ball rolling. So I applaud him for doing that right now, because he can work with these new pieces of the team and get acclimated, because he loves smart football players. He expects guys to be where they're supposed to be. And that's why I feel like the Steelers attacked the draft the way they did, especially with some of those skill players.
Rodgers is reuniting with his former head coach from Green Bay and Mike McCarthy. They spent over a decade together. What do you think those conversations look like between those two when Rodgers was going back and forth on his decision?
It wouldn't surprise me if Mike McCarthy spent some time in the hole with him, try to convince him to come out that hole to come back to Pittsburgh. So I think these conversations was a lot easier than it probably was that we're probably making it out to be. It's literally a phone call. Hey, we've done this before. Let's go do it again. You got to the postseason last year with me and Toe as the head coach. You probably can go out on a high note like Tom Brady and win a Super Bowl. So I feel like that was a conversation. And Rodgers is all about winning. He's all about leaving a great legacy as a football player, which he already has. And I feel like this roster now, there's less questions on offense than there were 2 days ago before we didn't even know he was going to be back on the roster. So I like what the Steelers are putting to the, bringing to the table. I thought they would win 10 games without Aaron Rodgers. Now, when you look at this division, man, everyone in this division did a great job in the draft, did a great job in free agency. We may see 3 teams out the AFC North get to the postseason, and we hope the Steelers could be one of them now that they bring back their starting quarterback.
Rodgers will turn 43 years old later this year. No chance he's coming back to the NFL if he doesn't think he's got a shot at a Super Bowl. So what are your expectations for Rodgers and the Steelers in 2026?
With a revamped offensive line, a healthy offensive line, a rededication to the run game with Rico Dotto, even Riley Nowakowski, the rookie fullback out of Indiana, was a great draft pick too. I expect them now to be in less shootouts and put less strain on Rodgers having to go out there and be 28-year-old Aaron Rodgers. I feel like this is a more balanced team offensively, guys that can make those plays that need to be made, that have to be made, and we'll see him save himself, the better part of himself in his game for the postseason. So I could see the Steelers getting to the playoffs once again, and now we having a different conversation. Can they win multiple games to get to LA for the Super Bowl in the end? So I see this as a playoff team now with Aaron Rodgers, and I like the way this offense is setting up.
All right, Emery Hunt, thanks so much for your insight, your prediction. Plenty more coming up on Aaron Rodgers, who's returning to the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is where his career ranks in NFL history. 4 MVPs. He is 4th in the league for passing touchdowns, 1st in touchdown to interception ratio, and 1st in that passer rating over 102. Plenty of more coming up on Aaron Rodgers. Is breaking news. He is returning to the Pittsburgh Steelers on a 1-year deal worth up to $25 million.